Hello Steelers, and welcome to this Bench Report hobby update. Another week goes by and more little men painted. I've done quite a few things this week actually. Not loads of, lots and lots of bits and pieces, but there's just some little odds and sods that got done in one kind of biggish project. First of all, I bought from Paul over at Sabotage some Chain of Command tokens. So these are the pinned and broken tokens that he does. These are dead cheap, really nice and really useful. I've got some of the other ones that he does as well, like covering fire and the tactical markers, but I thought I wanted to get these as well. I painted them in green, basically just ink washed them in brown and then dry brushed them in yellow, and then just picked out the lettering on all of them. Very easy, dead easy to do. So they'll just merge in nicely onto my tables, but they'll still be recognisable as a token, so you can work out which units are pinned and broken, because sometimes I do forget. Also, as well, I bought these at the same time. I got some parachutes off Paul. Now these are 1/600 scale parachutes. These are for Bag the Hun, and he did me. I think he did me 10 in total, and they have their own bases. And these are just to show pilots who have jumped out of their aircraft. Absolutely nothing more than just tokens, just to have a nice little feel on the tabletop, just to add a little bit of flavour to it, to proceedings, a bit of fun. So yeah, I painted those dead easy. Obviously, just a base colour, a wash, and then a dry brush, and they were dead easily done. Also, I went to the Normandy stuff that Leaf had sent over as well. I want to do some more of his buildings, but I'm waiting until payday so I can get some walls from Paul over at Sabotaged. I already know what type of walls he's got, so I'm going to get some of those in a couple of weeks, I think. So that's what I'm going to start doing, the buildings, because I want to do, obviously, the curtilage around them. But I thought I'd tackle his rubble piles. And he provided me with a couple of these, with a couple of broken citrons, and also just some with bits and pieces of furniture and stuff thrown in as well. These are quite nice just to scatter about, because one of the things is difficult to find is rubble in 15mm scale. Most of it is for 28mm, and it looks great because Joe the Wargamer does it on his boards and his tables, and it looks fantastic. Really looks good. But unfortunately, there's very few people that do really tiny bricks. You can get them through railway modelling, but they're quite pricey, whereas the 28mm stuff is pretty much ubiquitous. So it's nice to have rubble, and buildings when they get blown up. There's a lot of rubble kicking about, especially on Second World War and Second and First World War battlefields. The big thing that I did though this week was I finished the chasseurs of the Imperial Guard that came through from AB Miniatures the other week. This is, I think it's 26 in total, because I've got a couple of guys cheering as well. So this is actually 3 units of 8. Is it 8? Yes, 8 for 3. It is 3 units of 8 for sharp practice. This is for the punch up in Plants Noir scenario that Joe McGuinn wrote as part of the one of the Lardy annuals a couple of years ago, for the 100 days stuff that he did. Which I'm going to play at some point. I just need to work on the Young Guard skirmishers that I've got. There's only 24 of those, and as you can see on the table, I've got 6 officers of the Guard as well. As well as this, I've also done a painting video for the chasseurs as well. It has yet to be written and recorded and edited. Sorry, the voiceover recorded, because the footage is recorded. But so expect that at some point, probably in the new year, I would have thought. But that will come at some point, and it'll just be a how to get them painted quickly as much as anything else. The other thing as well that I made as well this week was I sat down and I made the Japanese and British Far East 1941-42 platoon rosters for Chain of Command, because I realised I didn't have them. I've sent off my designs over to Warbases to get them printed, so I'm just waiting those. They've obviously not arrived yet, but I have put the PDFs of those into the roster folder of my Google Drive, which I will put a link to in the description down below in the video. So go and check those out. There's a few others as well from Chain of Command, just ones I've worked on. They're all for 15mm, so you might have to resize some of the boxes to fit your bases, but they are for figures with bases of 50mm diameter or 90mm diameter for the leaders. So that just gives you a bit of an idea of how big they are. You can probably hear the rain as well trying to get in from above up there, so I do apologise for that and try not to put it off. as I said, the only stuff I've got this week was stuff from Paul. It's over at Sabotage, which is really great. And I did actually get this as well, which is the Beginner's Guide to Wargaming by Bruce Quarry. Now you're probably wondering, why do I need this? Having been a wargamer for 30 years. Well, it's because I was buying some of the nostalgic stuff the other day, a couple of weeks ago from over at Partisan. And I thought, I'll get this as well, because this is one of the books that I had when I was a kid. I think I probably bought this when I was about 13 or 14 in Whitby. I can even remember the bookshop it was in. I think it's long closed down now, but I remember buying it. I remember the day I bought it. And this was written by Bruce Quarry, which, you know, a controversial character in some ways, but absolutely instrumental in wargaming for sure. You know, this is a guy who definitely knew his onions when it came to that. Wrote loads of books on it as well, and this is a really nice introductory book. And it even has some very basic rules that you can use, and as he goes through the periods, he actually adds more and more rules to those, you know, so he starts like with ancients and builds up to moderns or Second World War at least, and then adds more and more flavour to those rules. What's interesting in this is that he talks about everything is simultaneous, which is something that I think a lot of the time we don't always think about it these days in rules. There are some rules out there that have them, but he is very specific in that this is, you know, the games are simultaneous. So when one side fires, even though it's taken casualties, it still is able to fire back with its full complement before it took those casualties. And it's a nice, interesting way of doing things. When I was a kid, I completely misread it, misunderstood what he meant by that, and me and my friend, we set up on in a garden, and we basically were just moving our units 6 inches every time, but not actually having a time period. We were just doing it as quick as we could to get into position, then rolling dice to see how many we'd shot. So I completely misunderstood it when I was a kid, but I know what he means now, and it's interesting to see that in a set of rules. I don't think there must be rules out there where yes, there are points in the game, maybe like, you know, at a later stage in the turn where units will fire at each other, or, you know, there is simultaneous fire. But a lot of the time, you know, stuff is I go, you go, and you get to fire and the enemy gets to fire. So it's interesting to see that, you know, it's kind of ahead of its curve at the time, I think, and just show some of the interesting things that were going on in wargaming in the, well, this is 1987, I think it was produced. So this would have been published 87. So this was published when I was 13. So I probably bought it when I was about 13 or 14, and it was this paperback version of it as well, which was great. So yeah, that's just an interesting thing, really, just an interesting artifact. Again, I'm thinking about putting together a video of some of these older books, so this will feature in it as well, just talking about them and talking about some of the older things and the rules that I got recently, Tactical Commander and the Newbury Fast Play for the Napoleonics. I kind of think about doing something with those, so I might amalgamate them all into one, you know, like an archaeology of wargaming kind of thing. I mean, there's loads of them you could go for, but I will just do the ones that, you know, the ones that I was reading when I was a nipper. Gaming wise, it's been relatively quiet. However, on Thursday night I was down at the club, and very nicely, Paul, who had got this from the Essen Spiel, he got it through a friend, gave both me and Dex a game of Ian Brody's Quartermaster General, the East Front. This is the latest title in the Quartermaster General games. I played as the Germans against Dex's Soviets. In the end, Dex won just by a nip. I think he got something like 3 points over on me. I think it was like 42 to 39, I think. But it was an absolutely brilliant game. It started off perfectly as you would expect, with the Germans pushing in Barbarossa. I got all the way up to Stalingrad, and then he mounted his counter-attack in the middle of the war, about 43, and then pushed me back. So I then went in on the north with the Finns, pushed in all the way into Moscow, but then once again I got to a point where the problem is with the Germans, it's you don't have many cards to actually resupply yourself, so you're burning other cards to do it. I'm going to do a full review of this because it really deserves it, and it was a really, really, really good game. I love the Quartermaster General games anyway. I think they're absolutely fantastic, and they're really well designed board games. So if you're interested in them, have a check. I do have a couple of the videos about some of them. I should really do reviews of some of the other games as well in the series, like the First World War and the Cold War ones, and even a proper review of the Second World War one. But this is the latest one. It gave me a thought that he'll probably be looking towards maybe doing Normandy in this style. It's a very different style to what has previously gone. Still strategic, still a big overview, but much more microscopically looking at an area rather than like the entire Second World War or the entire First World War. Brilliant stuff, really good. So thanks, Paul, if you're watching, and thanks, Dex, both of you, for giving such a good game of that as well. Now, I'm recording this on Friday because I don't think I'm going to get a chance to do it any other time, so that's why I'm doing it on Friday. So it's kind of like, this is future Alex saying hello. This will be out on Sunday. On Saturday I will be over at CrackCon 4, which was set up by the lads of the Plastic Crack podcast, and if you don't watch their show on a Monday night, then you are missing out, and also if you don't subscribe to their channels, you're also missing out, so go and check those guys out. Again, I'll put links to all their channels in the description down below, just so you can go and click on them and check out what they're doing. But they host a almost yearly event down at Boards and Swords in Derby, where people take games down. I'm going to take down Chain of Command, and I'm going to be playing a couple of games of Normandy. As I say, by the time this has gone out, I will have already played those games in Normandy. I will be putting pictures up on the channel in the community tab and also elsewhere as well. But I'll talk about it properly in the next hobby report, because obviously I haven't done it yet, so I can't in this one. So that's why you haven't heard anything about it yet, even though I will have been there. So yeah, that's the vagaries of YouTube editing times. One other thing to mention is, as well, I put out the Wargaming the First World War video just the other day. Now, the first thing to say there is, unfortunately, I thought I'd set the music on it quite low. It turns out I hadn't, and a lot of people mentioned that they were struggling to hear. There is a subtitles thing that you can click on YouTube, which will give you subtitles. It's generated subtitles, and they work pretty well. There's a few things here and there where it doesn't know what word you've said, like the Somme, it comes up as son, I think, and Hague comes up as something else. But in general, it works pretty well. What I wanted to say was, well, thanks everybody for watching it, because it's been one of my most watched videos in the last week. Second most, in fact, just after the Partisan video, and has remained hugely popular with loads of likes and loads of comments. So thank you very much for that. Now, if you'd like me to talk more about the First World War and Wargaming in particular, I can do some more deep dives in stuff. Let me know in the comments, and I will do. I'm more than happy to. I could talk about it until the cows come home, but they will come out at an ad hoc basis. But I'm prepared to carry on chuntering about it as much as I can. All right, I'll leave it at that. I think. Just one more thing to say. Hit that like button, as always. If you've enjoyed this video, do hit the subscribe button as well. Go over to the Storm of Steel Facebook group as well, because I am close to 1,000 people in that group at this point. So go and please do join that group, and I will see you in the next Storm of Steel video.